Need to know with Issue Today, and our Monday reporter Angela is in the studio. Good morning, Angela.
Good morning.
Did you have a good weekend?
I did, yes.
It was kind of colder than I expected.
Every time you ask me, I actually was like,
You have
did
to
I
think
have a good
about it.
weekend?
Right, but the temperature is milder starting today, although that means, unfortunately, the return of the fine dust. All right.
Yes.
Okay, let's start with our first story. It's regarding kind of the reversal of the living with COVID, a little bit anyways, because of the alarming number of new daily cases. The government has announced plans to apply and expand the current vaccine pass system to a greater number of multi-use facilities. And the grace period for this measure goes into effect today.
Yes, that's right. Starting from today, December 6th, a large number of multi-use facilities are required to introduce the nation's vaccine pass system. Study cafes and party rooms specifically have been newly added to the list of businesses subject to this new measure, where the store staff have to check whether visitors have been fully vaccinated or whether they have been tested negative from the PCR test. This new measure is unexpectedly starting public controversy over fairness, as most study cafes use unmanned kiosks for pretty much every service from entrance to payment. However, under the stronger vaccine pass measure, they now have to hire staff to check visitors' vaccination or test status. And party room businesses, with a new limit on the number of private gatherings that were in anticipation of seasonal end-of-year demand, are getting a stream of calls from customers who want to cancel their reservations.
Right. I mean, party rooms as well. Cafes and restaurants, especially that have been looking forward to the year-end sort of boost in their sales, are very disappointed because they have been in the red because of these stringent social distancing measures for the good part of almost 2 years.
Right.
And they're hopeful that things would actually get better.
Yes, an owner of a study cafe surnamed Kim said he runs 55 Pyong Study Cafe and he pays rent for 3 million won per month and 2 million won for maintenance. Considering the study cafes run 24 hours, he needs to now hire at least 3 staff, which will cost him 7.2 million won excluding nighttime pay. So he's clearly losing a lot of profit or not even really making any profit sometimes. A bigger problem is that most customers who use study cafes are students and even teenagers. So most of them haven't gotten their vaccines yet. So 9 out of 10 study cafe owners are saying that the new government measures are unrealistic.
Right. Students, a lot of parents are up in arms because of a new measure that's going to be kicking into effect in February, right? That they won't be able to go to hagwons unless they are vaccinated as well.
Yes.
Now, we mentioned before the party room business, this year-end period, especially with the relaxed with Corona measure, they were really looking forward to some bigger sales and business this year-end. It must be very big impact for them as well.
Right. Party room businesses are raising issues with the vaccine pass policy compared to other accommodations such as hotels. So one party room owner said if customers use the room for 24 hours, nothing's really different from hotels. In fact, customers who cancel their party rooms have gone to hotels because those rooms are not required to check the visitor's vaccination status. So the government acknowledges the restaurants and generic cafes as exception, considering them as a necessary establishment where people can have their meals.
Now, we mentioned that today is the start of the grace period. How long is this grace period for?
So the grace period starts today and will last until December 12th. If you do not comply with the new measures after the grace period, for users, 100,000 won will be fined, and for business owners, 1.5 million won will be imposed if you're caught for the first time. And if you're caught for the second time, the fine will double to 3 million won.
All right. Let's move on to our next item, again about schools. You know, whenever I read or listen to news, especially about the subjects that they're learning in schools these days, I feel so old. Okay, I feel old all the time, but especially so when I hear about the subjects that they're learning. Because they're learning what? Coding and accounting as well?
Oh, accounting. I didn't know
Yeah.
about accounting. But did you know that AI has become also an official subject in high school?
I didn't hear, but I'm not surprised at all because it is such a buzzword, right?
Right.
But yeah, in school, maybe high schoolers?
Yes, so the Ministry of Education called on the nation's high schools to add AI Basics and AI Mathematics as career elective subjects from the second semester this year. The goal is to nurture a talented workforce in advance of the fourth industrial revolution. However, since the government's insufficient preparation, it was found almost no AI education is being done in classrooms. In most schools, there's a shortage of teachers who are capable of teaching AI yet, and AI is not directly linked to the CSAT, the Korean College Entrance Exam.
At the same time, I imagine that AI will become a more important subject going forward because it's going to take some impact in many, many sort of areas of our life, right? So it must be quite popular with students, no?
Yes, I agree. But maybe it will take a longer time until it gets popular among high schools because at least not this semester. According to the Seoul Metropolitan Office of Education, out of only 1 out of 250 high schools within the district chose AI Basics or AI Math subject for this semester. Since most schools have their yearly education planned beforehand and textbook development and teacher training are in the infant stage, it was hard for schools to choose them as soon as it was introduced. An official from Education Office in Seoul stated a growing number of schools are expected to choose AI subjects from next year, perhaps.
Right. Imagine that the lack of qualified teachers might be another problem as well.
Right.
All right, let's move on to our last item. It's something that actually we had covered in our roundtable. It's about organ donations, and it's a heartwarming sort of development because there's good news regarding the families of both the donors and the recipients of organ donations.
Yes, the government recently revised the current law to respect donors to allow exchanges between organ donor families and recipients and promote organ donation. The revised version of the National Organ Transplant Act passed the plenary session of the National Assembly on December 2nd. So until now, organ donor families and recipients have not been allowed to know each other. Only those who are in charge of the donation can access information on both parties. I recently heard about this and personally found it frustrating because it makes it impossible for them to exchange words of gratitude, but now they can.
Yes. And even those donor families, I think they had a sense of healing as well, and they feel like their loved ones is living on through the donation as well. So good news to end issue today. Thank you very much, Angela.
you.
Have a great week. We'll see you again on Friday.
You too, have a great week.